Hello, and welcome back to 100% Real with Ruby. Today, I have on Jordan Eastman, and I'm not even going to touch on the fact that he's amazing at growing booties on women, but more so around making things more effective versus fluffy. And that's kind of what we need in this clusterfuck of information we're getting on social media these days. And even just from Jenny down the street and Karen from the gym, like we see people doing all these extravagant things and think, what am I missing out on? Or we see people just smashing themselves all the time on social media thinking, oh, that's why they look that way. But we don't stop to actually think about what is best for me right now, what is most effective for me right now. It's about quality over quantity. And before I hit record, I asked Jordan, what do most of his women struggle with? And everything that all of you girls listening to this, whoever you are, struggle with, I am telling you right now, you are not alone. There are two different sides of the spectrum. There are those that are now in the right place, that now want to enhance all they do. And it's one in the same. But then those that are still struggling to get the foundations right, it's like you've been repeating the same cycle for how many years? When is it enough? When is it time for you to actually change what you do so that you can change the outcome? And that's exactly what Jordan's here to talk about with us today. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself by telling me what you usually have to work on the most with your clients and what they usually come to you struggling with.
Okay, perfect. So pretty much the typical female that comes to me, they're going to be struggle with chronically undereating. They're going to be struggling with chronically undereating. They're going to be struggling with eating more. They're going to be frustrated from all of the overwhelm on social media and all these avenues that they can look at for information. So they're frustrated, they're overwhelmed, they're highly stressed. They don't sleep, they don't hit their water, they don't move, so they live a sedentary lifestyle. And pretty much they come to me extremely unhealthy from all of the fads that they've been doing before, not keeping tabs of, prioritizing their sleep and prioritizing stress management, prioritizing movement. Like basically they come to me not even understanding the foundation of how to get a result. They come to me just in a shitty place because there's so much information out here that they're just lost. So they try all of the things that seem to work, fast, quick, and in a hurry. Because the way that, we do things where we're focusing on health first, it doesn't sound as sexy as dropping, 30 pounds in 2 weeks. You know what I mean? So that's the typical struggles that my clients deal with. No movement, high stress, no sleep, undereating, overworking, and not taking time for themselves or putting themselves first. So I deal with a lot of women who don't put themselves first, and they want to make sure everybody's okay because, females are nurturers. So they want to make sure that everybody else is okay except them. So I kind of reel back and we really hit home on all of these things, and we just do the opposite of what they're currently doing. So if you're doing all of those things, we just do the opposite to actually, push the body towards health and wellness. I know it is something so simple, but doing something as shifting from chronically stressed to managing stress and having, lower stress is the key, the basics.
It's simple, but it's counterintuitive. So why do it? Like, why slow down? Why am I going from 7 or 6 days to 4 days? Why am I being told to do less? Because I know that you mentioned it as well, that they come to you thinking that the more they do, the better. Or yep. Do you ever actually see them as well being like, oh, I'm not done yet with this workout. Thank you, but I'm going to go and do my circuit now as well as the workout that you gave me, or I'm going to go finish it off doing some Tabata or some intervals, doing some crazy ass abs and cardio. Do you see that as well?
Yeah, I see that a lot. So like we'll plan for 3 days a week. So the plan that we do is 3 days a week. And what happens is that the girls will text me like, hey, look, I just did 10 minutes of HIIT, quote unquote. And we just did like intervals, like 10 seconds on, 10 seconds off for 10 minutes. And I'm like, that's not what we're doing. That's not the program. So yes, I have found it hard for them to shift the mindset of the less is more approach, especially with training, where they're just coming in and, doing the least effective dose because, they're so stressed. But yes, I do struggle with them doing things outside of the gym, doing more workouts, doing more cardio, trying to keep the heart rate up. And I also struggle with when we're in sessions, not able to feel comfortable with rest periods. So, we live in a culture of where your heart has to be beating, for the whole session for an hour straight or an hour and a half straight. But what we do is we prioritize rest and recovery because we are focusing on performance. So my mentor, Strtength, told me that fatigue masks fitness. So if you're just running yourself into the ground for a whole 60 minutes, you can't really perform, which is not going to allow you to achieve optimal results. So when we're focusing on rest periods and stuff like that, it's actually hard for them, but it's beneficial to them because they'll get stronger. They'll be able to perform better over the session. And we all know that leads to, more fat loss, better muscle growth, better look of the body in general.
See, I think you touch on a very important point at the end there, that not talking about now leaving aside the fact that there are the overworkers, there's those that don't actually realize just how important it is to weight train, but not just to weight train, to do it effectively. Like, I know one thing that held me back was I was all for the weight training. I knew that I had to lift weights. I knew that I had to build muscle. All I wanted to do was build muscle. Look at my program. I had like 20 exercises. Probably about 10 of them were the same, like 5 rows, 5 vertical pulls, like lat pull downs for those listening. I had just 8 sets of pretty much every single one of those. Oh, why don't we add in a drop set? Oh, I've done my whole 12 sets of this. I might add in another 4. Like, I knew the importance of building muscle, but you mentioned Stefan Cazell, and Stefan Cazell is an amazing coach when it comes to weight training. And he prioritizes the impact of every single rep that you do, the impact of the way that a program is structured. Like, it's not just sewing together whatever exercises fit. It's doing it in a way that isn't going to mask fatigue or take away from what you want to get out of that session. And there are those that come from the background of, oh, I can't, like you mentioned it yourself, they don't put themselves first. So, oh, I work this many hours, I don't have the time to get in training, I don't have the time to actually worry about my nutrition now. So I guess I want to also feed into that route, so then we can bring them both together at the end, but address these 2 different types of women that are literally plaguing society, and then they wonder why they can't change. They blame their metabolism, they blame their genetics, they blame their hormones, but it's not. It's the fact that you're either doing too much or you're not doing anything because you're doing everything else. Right,
exactly. So you could be, you're in a situation where, you're actually just running yourself into the ground. Let's just go over what you typically see. You have people doing 7 days a week of training. You have people doing, oh, I'm going to add boxing onto that, or, oh, I'm going to add yoga onto that. Oh, I'm going to go hiking. I'm going to get, 20,000 steps a day, or we're going to eat 800 calories. And something that, Luke Lehman, teaches me and you, is that, like, if you add more, you have to add more food. So if you add more energy out, you add more stuff, you have to add more food. And that's something that women struggle to understand as well, as just, fueling that performance. So whatever you're doing, you need to increase calories if you're doing more. But
that's something else, just to add on to something Luke says. And it's not just the fact you need to fuel that extra activity. It's but then there comes a point where you're not actually able at all to recover from that. And you're a woman who does everything. You have to do that. You have to make sure the house is spick and span. You have to make sure the kids are fed if you have kids. You have to make sure husband's happy, because you seem to think that you have this role that needs to make your husband happy instead of you both working together. Like, there's all these expectations that you put on yourself. So that's taking away from your recovery pool. So how the hell can you expect to do more and more and more, recover from that, regardless of if you're feeding that? Because you can feed that all that you want, you can expend it all that you want. It's this middle part that I actually want you to go into address now. And this is the part where everyone gets stuck, because on either side of the spectrum, those that actually don't do anything, they don't prioritize themselves, they don't prioritize food, they don't actually get themselves into the gym because it's not a priority. And then those that actually do all the things and do too much, it's this middle part that's exactly the same for either side of the spectrum. Go into talking about this little, I guess you want to call it stress. I guess you want to call it a clusterfuck of we can't even quantify it.
No, 100%, 100%. And like you said, that middle ground is perfect. Like you said, you can't just constantly do something 24 hours a day, even if you feel it or not, because eventually you're just burning yourself out. You know what I mean? And the one thing that I've really found is that once I really, hit it home with the girls, that because they're like, yo, why is your program only 3 days a week? It's because a lot of my clients are people who work desk jobs. I have a lot of nurses. I have a lot of people who are parents. I have a lot of people who are just always on the go. And everything is counterproductive if, you are going 6 days a week, to be honest. Honestly, for the majority of the population, if you're doing 6 days a week, you're not training hard enough. Like with me, 4 days a week is perfect for me. With the girls, 3 days a week is perfect for them. You know what I'm saying? Like I actually have my stress managed and I have everything in check. So, you can add another day as long as you're doing the things that are important, like recovery, going on mindful walks where you're just, focusing on being out in nature, or, you're getting your 7 to 9 hours of sleep, and, you're prioritizing self-growth. So you're reading books. So all of these things are going to, help you recover. So then, hey, like once you have all these things ticked off, then, maybe you can add another day, but, it's just good to have 3 days a week of training. And then once the women typically start doing that over a long period of time, they realize they're still like, yo, this is still hard. They didn't realize that something like this would be this hard. And that's the importance of program design when you're training clients as well, is that, you need to understand how to, manipulate everything to make it beneficial for 3 days a week so that you can get the most out of it. But yeah, so then they see that creates the buy-in. Once I get somebody in and they train with me for 4 to 6 weeks, they're like, yo, Jordan, like you made the right decision. I'm so glad that you told me that I can slow down and that I can have rest periods, and that the whole session doesn't have to be about me having my heart rate up, because it's honestly just jacking up more stress hormones. So pretty much what we want to do is we want to manage stress. And I think that a lot of people don't understand that training is another stressor. So you'll have a mom, you'll have a woman who's a single mom, you have a woman who has got to take care of the home, got to take her kids to school, got to do this, got to do that. Then you got to train. All of that stuff is, adding more stress to the body. And that's what really this comes down to, is that when you train efficiently, you want the most efficient training program. And for most, it's three days a week, because it allows your body to recover as opposed to being another added stressor. So if you look at all especially nurses that I deal with, they have shift work, or bottle girls that we have who work in the nightclubs, they have shift work. So it's like their bodies are, constantly being stressed out, and they're not getting enough sleep, which is another stressor. So, once pretty much what we do is we pull back on everything. You know what I'm saying? So we pull back on training. We stop focusing on dieting so much and actually bringing calories up to allow you to actually become healthy, because a lot of the girls, like it's not uncommon for me to have women coming to me eating 700 to 900 calories and not even realizing it. So once I have them track their food intake, it's 900 calories for the week. And that's a stressor on the body, like the body sees dieting as famine. You get what I'm saying? Because, we've evolved from cavemen and all that stuff. So bringing calories up and all that stuff is another way to relieve that stress on the body. Getting that 7 to 9 hours of sleep is another way to get that stress, get the stress out of the body. And, managing your training, making sure you're not doing too high a volume, making sure that you're doing just right for you, meeting everything in the middle ground, not doing too much of anything, but making sure that you're prioritizing yourself.
See, this is a very big issue, I guess, for someone coming to you or to me who's still as fat they want to lose. I'm not at my goal weight yet. Why should I eat more? I'm not at my goal weight yet. How the hell can I do less exercise? How can you be telling me to do less? How can you be telling me to rest more? I'm not at my goal weight yet. How do you deal with that situation? And I want to know more about just the impact that stress has on the body in such a way that it masks everything that could possibly happen to make you actually see your results.
Yeah, so pretty much the way I deal with the clients who are constantly like, yo, I have to do more, I have to do more, I have to do more. I pretty much do weekly Zoom calls for my clients where we go over things like mindset or stress, and when we do something like a stress module, what I'll do is I'll have like stress in digestion, I'll have stress reproduction, stress and exercise, right? And basically what I do is I break things down to the simplest form for them so they can understand what is going on, and then we can make it simple for them so that they have that aha moment. You know what I'm saying? So for something as, you'll have these women who are like, yo, like, I need to do more and blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't want to do less, right? But then you say something like, so look, if you just keep filling your cup and it's overflowing, you know what I mean? And you just keep doing more training and you keep overflowing, what would make sense to do? What would make sense to do after that? It would make sense like, hey, I'm kind of doing too much, so maybe I need to pull back, because, if you're, doing too much training and, you're pulling back in 3 days, you're actually allowing the body to recover, because we want to focus on recovery. You know what I mean? So when you're able to recover, that's when the body will not be so stressed and allow you to be in an optimal state to put on muscle and burning fat. So if you actually want to lose fat, I know it sounds wild, but you've been chronically stressed and chronically overworking for so long. So it only makes sense to do the opposite of what you're currently doing. So cut that in half and you'll get the results. I know it sounds wild, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. I see great results with training 4 days a week. And that's another thing. I feel like as a coach, you can't be a coach who trains 6 days a week. So when the girls are seeing me lifting 4 days a week, they're like, okay, I'm only having 1 day less, and Jordan's not as stressed as I am. So it makes sense for him to go 4 days a week. You know what I mean? He can do that, right? And
you're eating enough food.
Yes, and I'm eating enough food, right? So then, coming back from, how I would coach them, if they're trying to get used to, less is more, is just educate them on the importance of, managing stress and understanding what stress is doing to the body, and let them know that training is a stressor. Because what a lot of women say is like, I go to training for stress relief. It's my outlet. Yes, but it's an outlet that's another stressor that you're adding on. So once you tell them something like that, they're like, okay, you're right. You know what I mean? And then they respect you more because you're coaching them. You're not just a personal trainer anymore. You're genuinely caring about their health and wellness. And that's another thing that they enjoy, is like, once they see you really care about their actual health and it clicks in their head, they're like, I'm going to listen to whatever this person says, because they're going to drive me in the right direction.
Yeah. This is the difference. And this is why you are not a calculator. And this is why getting papers off the internet is not doing you any justice. And this is why I do exactly what I do. I teach you the importance of stress, just the way that Jordan does. It makes no logical sense for you to want to do more sessions in a week when you're already stressed out, when you already have a whole full life, but you can't even spend, like, why not spend that extra day actually prepping your food when your food's the thing that actually takes you off track? Having a bath, because the more stress that you put on your body, yes, you enjoy working out. Yes, it's the only time you get to spend with your whoever it is that you train with. If you train with someone, it's your only time away from work, whatever it is still a stressor on your body that you are not recovering from, you're not feeding. And the more chronically stressed that you are, and the longer that you've been stressed for, the longer it is going to take to heal that stress. It is a lag effect. And it's like you're wasting all this time arguing the fact that you need to do more, you need to eat less, that the time's going to pass anyway. And then as soon as you do start doing it that way, then there's the time of the lag effect, where you have to let go of instant gratification, because you're not going to feel the benefits straight away. Chronic stress takes time to leave the body. So you could be doing all the right things and still not see the result, and then get disheartened. But you've been doing this lifestyle for years. Do you ever have people that start doing the right things and they're like, nothing's changing, like nothing? And then there's the ones that physically change, but they don't mentally change with it. So it's almost like you need part and parcel to go with it.
Yeah, no, 100%. So for the people where they say like nothing changed, it's like I start focusing on, the feel over the look, because, that's something that it's big. That's something that's big for females, is that they're too busy trying to focus on how they're going to look as opposed to how they want to feel, because how you feel is what drives the true change. Because when you feel good, you understand that you have to get your sleep. You understand that you have to manage your stress. So when you're focusing on the feel, it actually drives the change that's needed to actually see a change in your body, right? So when the girls say nothing changes, I'm just coming at them like, hey, like, nothing changed, but you're losing inches, A. B, you get an extra hour of sleep at night. C, you have higher energy, you have a higher sex drive. You know what I'm saying? You were having a spotty period and now you're having a regular period. You know what I mean? So we got to look at the wins that are outside of just how you look, because it's not enough to focusing on the look is what's getting everybody in their positions right now. They're too busy focusing on the look and being consistent. You know what I
That
mean?
is perfect. That is perfect. You're too busy focusing on the look that you're forgetting the stuff that actually makes the difference. Because
Yep.
yes, of course, it's nice to have this dream body that you so want, but is it worth it if you have a fucked up relationship with food? If you're constantly under eating only to overeat? I just did a post on that. You'll love that one. If you're constantly under eating only to overeat, if you're attaching yourself, if you don't already have a partner, if you're attaching yourself to the wrong partner only to get disheartened again because you haven't yet filled your cup, you haven't yet put yourself first. That's actually the avenue I want to take this now after I finish this part. But having your poor food mentality, losing your energy, losing your sex drive, having bad relationships, all because you don't put yourself first, or because you're so focused on the external that you haven't yet grown into the person that you desire to be. Is it really worth it? Because I see so many times, not just with my own clients, but women falling into shitty relationships. They think they found the one, but they're not the one. They start to get manipulated. They start to like abuse those people, like mentally. And then you see people having this yo-yo relationship with food, and then saying, oh, I had the perfect plan, but it didn't work out. I didn't end up going to the gym, or something else happened, or I have a really busy lifestyle. This is a complete other side now we're going to go into, but it's something that we do need to touch on, because I'm sure there are people listening to this that find any little leeway out from actually spending time with themselves, anything out of having like a bath or having time with themselves, actually getting themselves to the gym. Like, the importance of strength training in your journey to get your dream body is so important. I'll let you go through that.
Yeah, so strength training is so important. And if we're looking at, what is going to build the body the best, what is going to, allow you to be more metabolically active, we're looking at, we need to build muscle and we need to lift weights, and, like you said, a lot of people, they try to find an out for, doing things. So I'm a big proponent for, or a big believer in, you create the situation that you want to create. So if somebody's like not creating time for themselves, it's because they need to make the mindset switch of, I need to have self-love for myself. And they need to switch from, being like, I'm prioritizing everybody else, to prioritizing myself before they can actually prioritize themselves. You know what I mean? So we work on the mindset of shifting the mentality of, because say like they're like, I'm intending to go on a bath. I'm intending to go on a bath, but you know what? I actually want to go and check on my kids. Then it completely switches your mind, So basically what I do is I always make sure that, they're prioritizing themselves and catching themselves when they're trying to do something and then they do something else. So you have to, keep tabs on yourself. You have to reflect on what's going on in the moment so that you can catch yourself to decrease that bad habit. You know what I mean? So you're so used to, focusing on everybody else that it's hard to switch the habit to focusing on yourself. So whenever you can focus on yourself, you find an excuse to focus on somebody else, right? So the main thing with that is that you need to keep tabs on yourself and reflect and journal. You need to, keep tabs so that you can understand that, okay, this is what's going on right now. I'm having this conflict in my head, and I am either going to go take a bath or I'm going to go take care of my kid, which is important, obviously. I'm just giving an example, but it's like, okay, I'm having this conflict. I'm understanding that I'm having this conflict, and I understand that I need to prioritize myself. So I'm going to go ahead and take this bath, and then I'm going to see the kid. But what most people think is, oh, I see a bath. Okay, I'm going straight to the kid. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you just have to really keep tabs on yourself and catch yourself when you're slipping,
This is going to be a total twist in the topic of the conversation, but I feel like it's probably the most important, and it is the premise of everything we spoke about before, to actually put yourself first, to prioritize yourself, and to know your priorities. But above all, like, none of that matters. You're going to keep grinding yourself to the ground. You're going to keep putting your body before everything that truly matters until you actually commit to being the best you and align it with a healthy lifestyle. But you need to actually see the value in having both sides of the spectrum, like actually being able to go hard in the gym, but go hard in recovery. the input, like people say that they care about, let's just say, obviously the family is important, but they care about the kids too much. They care about this too much. They care about this too much, but they never once mention themselves. Like being able to put yourself first, being able to actually say no to more things so that you can say yes to yourself more. This is exactly the key to unlocking the right path for you, because that is when you're going to stop wanting this instant gratification, because then every single little thing that you do is going to be in line with becoming your best self. And this is why we both, because we have amazing mentors, we both work on such a deep level with our clients, because as soon as we get our health right first and not just go for a before and after picture, which is absolutely ludicrous, but it's so easy when you're seeing all these before and afters and you're like, I need something like that because that's something that's going to look good on my page. Like people seeing my change. But then what happens after? Like your change isn't something that needs to come with that much sacrifice if you actually make it part of your lifestyle. And if you do have that much sacrifice and it's not part of your lifestyle, how the hell are you going to maintain that? How the hell are you actually going to maintain that? It's so important to realize that everything that you do, and touching on that strength thing that you can mention in amongst this, is going to the gym doesn't just build your muscles, it builds you as a person. The fact that you're actually taking time to rest between sets and you're prioritizing one thing, and that is becoming the best you that you can in the gym, building muscle, building strength, and focusing on pushing yourself as much as you can in every single rep. It is about effective reps, not just lifting shit because it looks like a pink dumbbell. It's lifting shit with effort, with the right form as well. But you need to realize that effort comes with that as well. Like it's not just being so careful about not hurting yourself. You need to have that mix. Like you grow in the gym, you grow in this journey, and that makes you a better mother. If you keep putting the kids first, you're going to become everything that you don't want to be as a mom, because you're going to start yelling at them. You're going to start becoming impatient with them. You're going to start resenting them and resenting the life that you have. And I actually have seen that a couple of times. People resenting the lives they have because they did this to themselves by not actually filling their cup. And even though they're at this rock bottom, they can't change because they have no energy to. They have no will to, because it's just like, no, I've given up. But you need to realize that by putting yourself first, doing all these things correct, it doesn't mean smashing yourself in the gym 6 days a week or 7. It doesn't have to be that hard, but you do need to show up. There are two ends of the spectrum. Now I'm going on my rant, but this is so important. Like you need to show up for yourself. How the hell can you be a good mom? How the hell can you be a good partner? How the hell can you get yourselves in good relationships if you don't even know who the hell you are first? And you don't know who the hell you are if you keep finding it out. And you're going to keep turning down the best opportunities and the best things for potential. Thinking about one of my clients now, who she has a plan, she never follows through because everything needs to be perfect. As soon as something goes a little AY, nah. Or doubts herself, or nah, that's too hard. Nah, it needs to go this way. As soon as I slip, that slipped. It's not my priority. Like as soon as you put yourself first, as soon as you start to realize that starting with errors is the way you always start. You need to start with errors, because only then can you correct the code. I listened to a podcast. I can't remember. This was back in my running days when I was running. I heard it, and it's just like when you're trying to code a game. When gamers are trying to like develop a code for a game, it's like, okay, let's test this out. Nah, that was dead end. Let's go back to the drawing board and recode it. That's the same thing with you. You need to recode yourself to develop the final end product. And it will come with errors. You will get error messages and it's going to say, try again, not you failed, give up. No, this is the wrong way, try again. And you will try again. So maybe go into some case studies of people that have put themselves first and them coming out on the other end, because I know that I've experienced it once and it only lasted a week, where I actually got an extra rest day out of someone. And they said, I've not felt this not exhausted in ages. It's weird. I'm like, do you see why now? But there's that lag effect. Like you actually need to trust the process. And it's so counterintuitive. So maybe you can give some case examples of that.
of some of my clients putting themselves first, and then what happened at the end of that.
It's the best. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm thinking of a mom right now, actually, and she was one of those people who came to me like always focusing on everybody else and always running around with the kids and always running around with the family and never prioritizing herself. And I would say a win for her was when I told her like, yo, like the first win was pulling back on training. First of all, she was so grateful with that because she was like, I actually feel recovered and I actually feel like I have more energy to be around my family and actually give more to my kids. You know what I'm saying? So that was the first win of her putting herself first. The second win is that, she's slowly starting to add nutrition. So that's another win as she's prioritizing her health again. And then the next thing is just like I see a big shift in her mood. So when she first started with me, she was like one of those people who was like couldn't turn off when we were training, like always I got to be doing something. So she had to walk around a lot, had to do this and that. But now, like, I'd say we're about like 4 months in, and she's finally realizing that she's just, or I'm finally realizing that she's just a lot more calm in sessions. She's a lot more easygoing. She doesn't look at the phone as much when we're training. So she used to, the Apple Watch, everybody's looking at their Apple Watch the whole time we're training. So I told her like, yo, you gotta pull back on that, like kind of disconnect your phone or something, or take it off. You know what I mean? And she ended up, kind of putting it on silent or something. And that's another win where she can actually focus on the training more. She's actually more present when we're training, which is allowing her to get better results as well.
It's amazing what happens when you do start to put yourself first. Have you ever had someone that just it took them a while to actually start showing up to strength training sessions, coming from like nothing, or thinking that it's just like, oh no, it doesn't matter, I'll just try to eat clean, but their only form of knowing how to do anything is let's just go for a walk, let's just do some cardio. Oh no, but I hate cardio. But actually starting to put themselves first and starting to realize the benefits of properly strength training.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%. And then, when you have these people who they come in for the strength training, and then basically what we do is we habit stack. So I never like put everything on my client at once. We slowly find the things that they're dealing with right now that are the main problems. So if this is a woman who is coming from zero training, the first thing that I really prioritize is just getting moving and just training. So, hey, like, let's get those 3 days in and let's do the steps. Let's do 7,500 steps a day. All right. Because if you're getting 3,000 steps, it's not realistic to get 10,000 steps. Right. So, I figure out what the main problem that they're dealing with is, and then we slowly work through the process, because I find like when you bombard them with everything, they're like, fuck, like I'm not doing anything. It's more overwhelmed for them. So it feels like they're getting attacked, and it makes more stressful. And then what happens is that, they just slowly habit stack over this time. Start with the training, then move to the movement, then start with the least effective dose of stress management. They start getting curious when they see, how good they feel after just training. They're like, oh, wow, I feel good with just training. So imagine if I get my steps in. Oh my God, I feel good now. What if I just got an extra hour of sleep? Oh my God, now I want to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep. So basically, I let every one of my clients come to me. I educate them obviously on like the calls and like, just with communication with them, kind of like putting it in their heads, just so, in the future they understand, okay, this stress management stuff really does make a difference, but I let them slowly walk through the process of habit stacking. We're stacking strength training, then movement, and then stress management, and then sleep management, and then getting their hydration in, getting their veggies in. It's all just a little process, starting them off where they're at.
You don't know how good you can feel until you actually experience it. And it's actually really, really true. Because it's almost like you don't know how good a good night of sleep feels until you actually have it. Yeah. And it takes habit and it takes consistency. You're not going to nail it overnight, and you're not going to see the results straight away, because it seems all fine and dandy to say that you're going to start feeling better after a week. But in reality, that's not the case, especially if you've been so stressed out for ages. Like it's hard to just like, it's hard enough not focusing on the physical results and just trying to focus on how you feel when you still feel the same way. But that's because you haven't given it time, and you are going to keep struggling to feel the feels if mentally you're still fighting it. You can't just move your body in the right direction. You have to move your mindset with it, which is why stress management is so important. And exactly, the importance of just getting in the steps. Like, no one realizes just how beneficial that is for your metabolism as well, because it's something that is the opposite of what you're doing right now, which is hustle bustle, doing everything. Instead, this isn't like huffy puffy walking. This is walking just leisurely. It is enough to get that cue effect. Like, even if you like, you can even do it on a treadmill. As long as you're doing something in that walking that brings you into a better place, like listening to music, listening to a podcast, just spending that time with you to get your movement up, that is enough. But then if you're someone that's already doing all this moving in your everyday life, you don't need to add these extra stresses in. You're better off having a bath. You're better off prioritizing your food. But it's this consistency thing that holds so many people back. And I guess if you had to give the biggest tip for helping people stay consistent with themselves, what would that look like?
That's actually good. That's a good question.
It is, because it's the one thing that so many people struggle with. Like, you mentioned it, that as soon as you do start to get your training in, as soon as you do start to feel the benefits of, oh, this feels really good strength training, some people don't make it to that next level to then start taking the next step, because they still can't stay consistent with that one thing, because they're so used to giving up on themselves. They're so used to this mental chatter of, I always give up, I can't do it. And until you get past that first step, it is so hard to get that habit stacking, and it's so hard to even feel the benefits if you can't even stay consistent with the starting stuff. So how would we go about that? I'm sure a lot of your girls would have dealt with that before, and you see it many times.
Yep. So I would say that the best thing that I can say for advice about consistency is that this has to be about something bigger than you. As crazy as that sounds. I know how we say that, we're self-love, put yourself first, right? Now, I can say that the reason that I started a dieting phase and was consistent with dieting was because of my daughter. I wanted to make sure that I was healthy for her. You know what I mean? Like, you need to put yourself in a position that you have to rise to an occasion. Like, I have to rise and look at my daughter's face every morning. I have to look at her. Am I giving her all of me? You know what I'm saying? Like, am I showing her healthy habits for when she grows up? Am I showing her, that I want to survive for her, that I want to live longer for her, that I want to be clear-headed for her? So one of the things is you got to make it about something other than you as well. As we focus on the self-love, but there also has to be something that you have to rise to. You know what I mean? And then I have another thing of, pain plus reflection equals progress. So you need to have something that is so painful for you right now that when you reflect on it, you're like, okay, it's really time to make a change. So if the pain of being where you are is not more than where you want to be, then you're pretty much just going to, stay in the same place. But if the pain of where you want to be, exceeds where you are now, then you'll be able to take that change, make that change.
Whatever you're not changing, you're choosing. And there is so much more out there for you. And this is to anyone listening. There is so much more out there for you once you start to take the right road. Like, where I am right now, I could have never imagined that I would be here, for example, from where I started, because it all started with an innocent endeavor to just freaking step foot into the gym and stop feeling like shit. Like, I wanted my energy. But if you start saying yes to yourself more, you'll start saying yes to even more opportunities, because you're growing in that confidence. But if you're still saying no to yourself, you're going to keep doubting yourself regardless of what it is. You're going to keep putting everything before you and then wondering why you feel so tired all the time, why you keep binging at night, why you can't seem to get your nutrition in check, because you're telling your own story over and over again. And it's almost like I have a psychic vibe right now, but I put up a post the second before you logged on saying, you're never going to change the story, and you're never going to change the end of the story or the narrative until you actually change the script. You need to change the script first. And you're the one with the pen. It's your story to tell. You can change it at any moment. Everyone that comes into your life is teaching you a lesson, or they're part of the journey. And you're going to keep seeing the same character until you learn that lesson from it. And I see it all the time with people still falling into the same shitty relationships. You're going to keep falling into shitty relationships. And it's almost like every single time you do a diet, you're fucking yourself up more. You're going to get worse and worse of a mental script the more that you put yourself into these relationships. Oh, I'm just not worthy. Oh, nobody loves me. Oh, my metabolism's broken. Oh, I'm a special snowflake. But you're doing that to yourself because you won't take the lessons from it and put yourself first. And you can't say that it's happening to you because you haven't done anything to learn from it. Like you said, you're not going to get the results from that pain until you learn from it. Why is it there? What are you learning from this? And what can you do to improve? But if you don't start putting yourself first, start realizing that once you prioritize you, start seeing the value and the worth in you, and start seeing that you are meant for more, you're going to keep settling for less. I love that bit. I'm going to let you sum all of that up into a nice little bubble. Say that you're speaking to every single woman in the world, because it's mainly women that listen to this.
Yep.
What message would you like to send out in regards to putting themselves first, and how, as woo-woo as it sounds, these health things do matter. This mindset stuff does matter. Managing stress does matter. Smashing your training matters, but smashing your recovery matters more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for, all the women out here, the message that I kind of want to just get across is that there's a better way to do this than overeating, all the restriction that you're doing. And I feel like that's the one thing that most people don't say. It's like, there's a better way, and they know there's a better way. They just can't find it. You know what I mean? Because how many people are really talking about what we talk about in the fitness industry, So I want every woman to know that you have hope out here. There's people who want to help you. There's people who want to get you feeling like you again. And one thing I've realized is a lot of women are coming to me and they're like, yo, I don't feel like myself anymore. I don't know who I am anymore. So I want you to know that you can re-find yourself and you can reclaim yourself as long as you have the right people in your life, as long as you bring the right coaches in your life, the right therapists in your life. You have to make sure that everything that you want needs to align with everything that you want. It needs to, you have to align with that. You know what I'm saying? You can't say like, I want to, party every night, but then I want a good guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you want a good guy, like go to the bookstore, go to a seminar and meet somebody who's doing the same thing you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, if you got to have an alignment with, where you want to go. So if you're saying to yourself, you want to be healthy, but everything that you're doing is the opposite, you're never going to get healthy. So at the end of the day, you need to shift your thinking from, oh, my metabolism, or, oh, there's no way, like, I just can't lose weight. Like, once you start talking to yourself like that, that becomes your reality. Your perception is your reality. So I want you to know that there is options out here to change your life, and where you don't have to starve, where you don't have to overwork and run yourself into the ground, where you can actually live it, make this sustainable. The reason that fitness isn't sustainable is because everybody is doing unsustainable shit. You know what I mean? So you got to just do something that is going to work, because these women they all know that there's a better option out here. I feel like they just sometimes need to hear it. So there is a better option, and there's people out here who genuinely do care about you. You just have to make sure that you align with that person as well. Because if you're not willing to be healthy and you try to find somebody like me and Ruby, you're not going to find us, because that's not in alignment with who you are.
That's so, touching on the last bit before I close off. Everywhere I look now, I'm seeing Hyundais. You know where I'm heading with this.
Right.
Everywhere I look now, I am seeing Hyundais. And before, everywhere I looked, I was seeing a whole heap of SUVs, all different colors, all different brands, factories, whatever they're called. Mm-hmm. And it's because I used to drive a Toyota. It got written off. The only thing I wanted was an SUV, and I didn't care what brand, whatever you want to call it, it was. And now that I'm driving a Hyundai, no matter what type of car it is, I'm just seeing the Hyundai symbol everywhere. So I am seeking and seeing it a lot more, because it is a lot more in my psyche. So if you're looking for a quick fix, that is exactly what you're going to find. My newsfeed on Instagram annoys the shit out of me. It's slowly changing now that I'm changing what I'm looking for and what I'm starting to follow, but it's showing me stuff that I always get tagged in, or because my friends are all into like posting these little snacks and macro snacks. So all I see, which I don't care about, are macro friendly recipes, are little ways of making protein this and protein that, or whatever the hell. It's like, I don't want to see that shit, but I'm seeing it because it's what I'm liking, because it's what I'm getting tagged in. It's you're curating your news feed of life to what you're looking for, to what you're paying attention to. So you're not going to find the answers you seek if you keep looking for bullshit, if you keep going for the quick fixes, if you keep wanting results yesterday. Because people like us seek answers from the best of the best. We don't seek answers from our phones and from our bank accounts. And those quick fixes, they get the quick buck. It's like, pay for this challenge. Yeah, here you go, goodbye. F45 challenges. Fruit's bad for you. Carbs are bad for you. Yeah, as soon as you get past this 12-week phase, you can start eating a fruit. Just be careful not to add 2 fruits in. I actually saw that. One of the things I'm like, what the fuck? But it's like people believe this stuff because it's what they're seeing. And as soon as they start seeing it, they start seeing it more. And then as soon as you start seeing it more, it starts to become something that you believe. So I guess I want to close it off with something that you said. The reason fitness and your results are unsustainable is because people are doing unsustainable shit. The reason that you are overeating is because the way that you are eating throughout the day is unsustainable. Now, the way that you need to lose fat is not something that needs to be sustainable for life, because you're not going to be living in a deficit for life. But the habits need to be there. What you do daily needs to be there. But the actual method is not the same. The principle changes, but the habits, the environment, everything else around it is the same. So take that with you. And Jordan left this on such a nice note. I'm going to leave your Instagram below. I don't think you're active anywhere else. I don't think you're doing little dancing things on TikTok.
Yeah.
So I will leave Jordan's Instagram below, and you'll see as well when he does post in his stories of his women doing badass shit in the gym. It's actual strength work. It's squatting, it's rack pulling, it's deadlifting, it's leg pressing, it's doing Smith squats, Smith machine stuff, hack squat stuff. It's not doing all this fancy dancy circuit training, keeping your heart rate up. He doesn't have people doing skip rope between exercises. The more that you see that this is a stuff that works, the more that you are going to believe it. And I could post my workouts for you every single day, but that shit would get boring. And same with Jordan, because we do the same shit every single week. Not every day. We have daily program. Like our program changes for all 4 days that we train, because I just reduced my days to 4 days as well. It's not just the fact that it's something that we can meet with recovery, but it's conducive for life. Like, your life doesn't revolve around the gym, and you shouldn't want it to. It should be a part of your life, not your whole life. And I had that realization as well. It's like, yeah, I love being in the gym, but that takes away from all of these other things that I could be doing that add to my life. And I don't even have kids. I don't have a husband. I don't have all these things I need to do, like a lot of you girls listening to this have. So even more for you girls, why the hell would you want to be doing more than that? If you want it, then that's fine. If you meet it with the recovery and you meet it with the food, have the 5th day. But there is no bullshit 6 days and 7 days. That is something that I think is absolutely ridiculous as well. So take that with you and add some gold lining to it so that it doesn't go rusty in your head, because it's very easy to rust off when there's bloody shiny objects everywhere. So that's quite a good analogy too. I'll leave it with that, and thank you for coming on, Jordan.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
And I will see you all on the next podcast. And if you like this one, don't forget to share it, or to let me know if you have any other questions whatsoever. And thank you for listening.